Hi, it's Thomas Grønnemark, the throwing coach. Here is my live throw-in report of the Champions League game Bayern Munich against Arsenal. It was a fantastic game, but both teams had big challenges with their throw-ins. But I'll come back to that in a few seconds. But first, I'll introduce myself. I'm a professional football throwing coach, and I'm coaching clubs all around the world. I've been a part of 14 titles in international football. I'm also having an online course for amateur and youth coaches where you can learn all about the long, the fast, and the clever throw-ins. You can see all on throwinacademy.com. But let's go to the throw-ins of the game Bayern Munich against Arsenal. First of all, let's start with Bayern. So Bayern, they had a possession on 42.8% on throw-ins under pressure where the players are marked. That's not good. That's under average. They came into good throwing situations in 28.6% of the time. And of course, if you have such a low percentage, you'll highest likely also have a quite low possession statistic too. The highlights for Bayern was in the 46th minute where they had a really good switch of play, and I really loved that. So that was a beautiful throw-in. But again, Bayern had big challenges with their throw-ins, and I can also say that that's a general thing I've been seeing for several years now, that for sure throw-ins are Bayern Munich's biggest weakness, and it's for sure the part of the game where they can improve the most. But let's go to the challenges. So first of all, they had a tendency to make the pitch small for themselves. And if you make the pitch small, you have smaller areas. You're in high pressure zones if you put the ball there. So a big weakness from Bayern Munich. It was also often too obvious where the ball came. So if it's easy to read for the opponents, it's also easier to mark. You also have a low pressure risk often because you know exactly where to press and when. And then a good example of that was in the 8th minute where they made the pitch way too small, uh, and then actually Arsenal got a shot afterwards. So again, Bayern Munich, I think you should really work with your throw-ins. Maybe even get an expert in to help you with that because a big weakness of the team. So let's go to Arsenal. And Arsenal had a possession on 50% on throw-ins under pressure. That's medium. That's not good. That's not bad. I'll say for a top team like Arsenal, you would expect to have a much higher possession. Arsenal only came into good situations in 25% of the time. And just in a few seconds, I'll explain you why. So, but again, of course, that's a really low number. And if you want to reach the 70-80% possession and throwing under pressure, or even 100% like some of my teams have done quite often, of course you want to come in more than 25% good situations. But again, let's start with the highlight of Arsenal. In the 51st minute, they had a direct mini switch to the central defender. I really like that a lot. I think that was really beautiful. So fantastically. But now let's go to the challenges. So I have like two things to focus on. So the first one was of course a specific one, a 94th minute, a bad long throw in. Arsenal doesn't do many long throw ins, and I don't say they have to. But if you want to do that, like in a 94th minute, try to do it in such an important game. We are playing around about like so many money and so and then you don't have a really good long thrower. If you want to do a long throwing, it should be really dangerous. And in the 94th minute, it wasn't dangerous. It wasn't long enough. And in my book, if you don't have a really long world class thrower, then don't do it. Then do space creation instead. And then the second thing, done after the first movement. It's quite obvious that Arsenal, they're working with throw-ins, and of course that's good. But I think that Arsenal has a big challenge here, and I see that in some of the clubs who work with throw-ins that they are having their set piece general set piece approach to throw-ins. So it means that they are setting one thing up and try to do that. But the challenge with such an approach is that if it doesn't work, you're in challenges. And I saw that so many times in this game for Arsenal, that they tried to do something and then it didn't work. And then it was quite clear for me that the players didn't know how to create space in many different ways instead. So again, if Arsenal is playing against a good defending throw-in team, and Bayern did decently yesterday, so I think Bayern's defending throw-ins were quite good, then Arsenal, they are in a challenge. So let me come back to again, what do I mean with they have to have take another approach? There's nothing wrong with trying to doing specific patterns or tools with the throw-ins, but you can't just rely on one or two, because sometimes the opponent's defending patterns are standing in a way that makes it hard. You can also say sometimes the opponents are just marking fast, and if you go out of ideas after like 3 seconds, you have a big challenge. So I think Arsenal has a really, really big throw-in potential of improvement there. So again, just to recap, Bayern, I think throw-ins are their biggest weakness, and Arsenal, they can still improve a lot. This is my throw-in report of the game, Bayern against Arsenal. If you want to read more about my throw-in coaching or my online courses, you're welcome to go to throwinacademy.com. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.